Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Adam and welcome to today's vlog. Today we are tracking the stats for my activities. If you're coming in for the first time, welcome. I've been doing a vlog for an entire year and I've been tracking sort of my life throughout this year, and we're coming up to the final 100 videos in 4 days time. In fact, today is the 13th, so on the 17th will be the final rundown to the last 100 videos of my vlog. And I decided to go vegan in the last 100, as a bit of a lifestyle change. So basically we're tracking a lot of my life as a meat eater at the moment, and today we're doing the steps count. I have a Fitbit, I wear that, and it tracks a lot of information about myself. I got it, or it started logging the information on the 6th of December here. Yeah, it also tells you how many calories you burned, which is quite interesting, and how much time of activity you've had in total. But more importantly, it tracks the steps, and that's what I've got it for. Or that's what we're using it for. So we're gonna have a look at my total step counts throughout since 2018 when I got this. Was it 2019? I think it was 2018. 2019, one of the two. We're gonna see how much activity I usually do, and then when I go vegan, I'm not gonna do any exercise for like a couple of weeks, and then start exercising. Again, we can track sort of the progression of what changes my body goes through. I can't wait, to be honest. I really can't wait. So if you're coming in for the first time, welcome. Hit the subscribe button. You'll get all my videos. If you make that bell ring, then you'll get notified when I go live, like now, and then you can come in and we can have a chat. Tomorrow we're going to be looking at the food plan, life as a vegan, and the kind of meals that I eat as an average as a meat eater. So I'm going to go through all my sort of my diets, as it were, in the past since I was born. I've done a bit of research with my mom in that, so we'll have a look and see what I ate as a kid, and then what I ate as an adult, and everything else. So let's I'll tell you one thing. This vegan, I've printed off this vegan grocery list. A lot of interesting things on there. I can't wait to dive into that, really. But for now, the steps. Let's have a look. Right. So 6th of December was the first entry. Now, it does a little party thing. Every time I do 10,000 steps, it does a little celebration with fireworks, sort of to mark that achievement. And I guess that's the aim for most days, is to hit 10,000 steps. And, I'm doing enough exercise that my body requires. Now, there was a time, and I think it was back, I would have to have a look at the vlogs. I think it was like back in February, when I got a job helping out the cleaning crew, where at the cinema that I work at in the mornings, alongside my other job at working at the cinema and everything else I did. So I was doing a lot of activity, and that was in place of a lot of some exercise I was doing prior to that. So I think it was 2018, around about July maybe, or August, I started running, and basically because I was going to be playing Freddy at my local cinema. I wanted to lose my belly in order to do that. So I started exercising every morning, and that started, I'm sure it was about July or August. I can't remember the exact month, but July or August. And I continued that up until the February of the 2019, when I got that cleaning job, and that kind of replaced it then. So I was hitting my 10,000 marker steps every single morning that I was doing that cleaning job. And I had that cleaning job, I think, for a couple of months. It was about 2 or 3 months. I remember getting about 2 or 3 paychecks. About 3 paychecks, maybe 4. And every morning I was at that job, my Fitbit would spark off the fireworks at 8 a.m. and I'd have already achieved the 10,000 mark by 8 a.m. And then, of course, you know, going up to like 11 p.m. if I was on the late, or if I was working. And there were a lot of times that I was on the late at the cinema. It got to like 15, 16,000. And I get these weekly reports, and they tell me exactly how many steps I've done. And even looking at my Fitbit app on my phone, again, would give me some stats. Now, I've had a general browse over the figures here, and I don't know, but for some reason they just don't add up. Like, there's only like 2 or 3 days where it shows that I've done 10,000. I was like, that's not right. There should be at least 30 entries. And then I looked at the recording of the logging of this information, and it's not every single day that it's logged. I think what happens is when I sync up my Fitbit to the app is when it logs some information. If I don't sync it up for a while, then there's no information for it to log, because we go to November of 2019, there's no information whatsoever. And it's true for the sleep. There's no information recorded. So I think it's because I hadn't gone on my app in a while, refreshed it and all that it didn't record any information. So there's huge gaps in this data, sorry. There's huge gaps. So it's not consistent enough for me to be reliable now. But it's interesting still to look at. So December 2018, that's when I got my Fitbit. When I started, or when it started tracking the information. Probably most likely when I'd set up the app on my phone and it started logging everything. So, I mean, you can see here, by the looks of it, and there's some entries where there's 3 days. You've got to like the 9th, the 9th, the 9th, then they've got to be added together, and that's about 6,000 steps there. Maybe 5,000, yeah, 5,600, something like that. So we gotta be careful. You know, there's another 3 entries here where it equals to more like 4,000. And then these two, add these two together, that's 8,000. So as we go through December, we kind of have to be careful of there's 2 and 3 entries sometimes. But basically, 2018, not much, you know, not much stuff going on, which is weird because I was running, I was exercising every morning. I would get out, and I think that's what it says. Oh, it can't, because it's 11:24 a.m. I was waking up at like 5 a.m. and going for a run at 6 a.m. or 5:30 a.m., something like that. So I can't see actually any of that being logged, which is weird. So that's a bit freaky deaky for me. Moving on to January 2019 now. I was still running after Christmas. I was still doing my morning trips, which this here, 16th of January, 6:10 a.m., that would have been the run. And it shows you how many calories I burned. 8,000 plus. Oh no, there's no entry there. So 8,800 steps. If we fast forward now, I mean, there's a couple of 10,000 ones here, but we fast forward to February. This is when I got the job at the cinema, and I mean, there's an 11,800 there. Add these 3 together, that's 11,000. I mean, you can see the amount of activity now has majorly increased, and I'm burning nearly 1,000 calories a day here. You know, there's a lot of more activity now, and it's obviously, you can see it starting at the time that I'd start work. So there it hit on the 14th, the 15th. I don't know why nothing was recorded on that, or the 16th. There's no journal entry. It's very gappy information, very inconsistent. But you can see that there's a lot more over 10,000, which was when I was a lot more active, you know. And I was losing weight, not major lots of weight, but enough to be noticeable on my torso, you know. So, and this was only last year, and then going up into the summer. Now, obviously, as we know, around April, May, I had the operation, so the stats go down quite a lot over the summer. I wasn't running, I wasn't exercising, I was recovering. So you can see here, look, 2,000 barely some days, 5,000. I'd say it's probably about 6,000. So you know, I was doing like a lot less exercise. And then moving up to September, I think that's when I was able to fully go back to exercising again. You can see it's going up now, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, but it's still not really hitting the 10,000 mark. And then there's no information for December or for November, which is a shame. And the sort of last recorded one was the 11th, 2 days ago, which is weird. I think it takes a couple of days as well for the stats to be registered and logged. But I mean, if we take our last entry, which was the 11th of January, we got to view details. I think we get a bit more clearer picture here. Here we go. It tells you exactly my average heart rate for that date. How many steps were taken. I think I upped my total to 11,000 as well. And how many minutes of activity, and it sort of logs it here, which is all quite interesting, really. 112 BPM, man. That's my average heart rate. Woo. So, I'll tell you what, let's go back to one of the more active days that I was on. And let's have a look at that. I mean, to be honest, now that I'm looking at these a bit more closely, I don't think I can use this at all to register how active I am. It's going to be... Yeah, it's going to be more interesting at the end of the vlog series when I am doing more exercise as to what it sort of regularly says. Because right now it's not consistent enough, and I don't know if that's my fault through not refreshing the app or if it just doesn't log it. I don't really know. Right, I did see an 11,000. Here we go. Let's have a look at this one in more detail. This 11,000 one. And let's see here. So, average heart rate 111. There was 1 minute of cardio, no minutes of peak cardio, which is a bit weird. The redder it gets is the more increase in my heart rates and more I'm heavily working. So you can see here in the morning, it was pretty high, and then there's like a peak here. You know, there's peaks throughout the day. How many calories were burned? How many steps were taken? 11,000. Yeah, I mean, quite a lot of interesting, you know, stats here to look at. 1,237 calories burned that day. And then how many calories were put back on? Who knows? So it's really handy to have this information. I mean, as a kid, I was a very active person. I was the second in my class. I was the second best time for the long distance running. I wasn't a very fast runner, but I could do the pace and last the time. Growing up, I was always active, you know, and I think my sleeping pattern has something to do with that. So the amount of sleep I got and how active I was, you know, and then obviously as you get older, you're naturally slowing down, unless you're, you know, keeping that going on purpose, you know, unless you're like a sports fanatic and you're purposely keeping your activity going, in which case you might even speed up, who knows. But for me, obviously, I wasn't like running regularly or anything like that. I was lifting weights as I got into my 20s and 30s. I was keeping fit, and I think mid-30s I started going for walks every single day, sort of almost prepping for a marathon type of thing. But I've always, as a young person, I've always had a natural ability of staying thin. And I think that was to do with my epilepsy as well. Because in my teens, I was having a lot of fits. And, you know, the amount of energy you burn or use, the amount of calories you burn, it's like you've run a marathon, you know? It's like you've run 23 miles. And when I was younger, I was having like 3 fits in a row, and then that would be it. I'd be wiped out for the next day, completely having to sleep for the whole day the next day. So, you know, as a teenager going into my 20s, when I was still having fits, I was doing a lot of activity, sort of every few months. So I mean, yeah. But then obviously as that got under control and I wasn't having my fits, then yeah, there was none of that really. So and you know, slowing down in my body, but you know, doing more activity would speed up everything again and thin out my body. But you know, ever since doing YouTube, and I'm not putting any blame anywhere, but obviously, you know, doing YouTube like this and writing and flight simulation and gaming, you know, every moment I'm sinking doing those activities is time that I'm not going outside running or walking. So it's gonna moving forward, it's gonna have to be like a real balance of activities, because if I just sat here on the computer doing whatever, you know, definitely would get a bigger belly because of less activity. Now I walk to work sometimes. Sometimes I get, you know, the missus will take me in, but most times I'm walking to work, and it's a good 30-40 minute walk into work. In the summer I do a different route and it takes an hour just because it's the summer, but I'm quite an active person on average, I'd say, because I walk to work. And then if I'm not on the till at work, then it's a very active job cleaning the screens after people. And I tell you, some people can get very, very messy. You know, I mean, especially kids films, you know, with popcorn, sweets, just wrappers everywhere, you know. It really does depend on the film as well, you know. But I consider myself an active person rather than just a, you know, potato couch. So I think my plan for moving forward when we get into the exercise routine is to be lifting weights, to be on the exercise bike, to be walking more, especially in the summertime, and generally be more active than these stats have recorded in the past. Probably more akin to when I had that cleaning job, you know, around here. That kind of activity again. More consistent 10,000 rather than seeing, you know, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. So I think this is today. This is like today so far. I've done 650 steps, and I've literally just woke up, gone to the toilet, had a coffee, sat down, watched some telly, gotten up, done this, and 650 steps already. I mean, that's quite interesting. That 901 calories burnt. That can't be right. Oh, so no, it's reading that from like last night. Oh, okay. So yeah, I was at the cinema last night watching Little Women, so that went on at 11, I think, and finished around 1:30. I was in bed for like 2 a.m. Looks like I did some sleepwalking here at 4 a.m. 10 to 4, I did 13 steps. I mean, that must have been tossing and turning in my sleep, surely, because I didn't get up in the night to go to the toilet, I think. Did I? I don't know. But I woke up at like 5. No, I woke up. My alarm went off at 5, and because I'd gone to bed at 2, I turned it off and woke up again at 7. So I had a bit of extra time sleeping, because I knew I'd need to function today. So yeah. But anyway, that's my steps, my activity. You know. Tomorrow we're going to have a look at the food plan as a vegan. What meals, what ingredients can I eat as a vegan? What can I not eat? And what have I eaten in the past? What did I eat as a child growing up? What was served for me? What kind of meals on average did I eat going into my 20s when I was, you know, fending for myself? Into my 30s, what did I eat? My recent 40s, and what will I be eating in the future? All of that tomorrow. Okay, thanks for liking the video, thumbs up, and thanks for watching, and I'll see everybody tomorrow, I guess. I can't wait. Take care. Bye.